When I arrived here in April of 2005, I was not only able to afford all of my financial obligations, but there was a little something left over.
When I grew up, I remember hearing about getting into Cornell, that you'd be set for life.
I actually came to Cornell because at the time I was a single mom and I was working 2 jobs and I needed 1 job to spend more time with my kids, making the same amount of money.
It was easier for me to make a living back then in the late 80s here in Ithaca than it is now.
I'm struggling more than I ever have in my life.
I don't own a single thing in this life other than a 12-year-old car. You know, I don't have the money to marry and have kids if I want to.
The Cornell founders would be turning over in their graves if they knew how Cornell was treating their employees.
Cannot even imagine how anyone nowadays can afford to live in Ithaca.
I cannot afford to live in Ithaca. I gotta repeat that, I cannot.
It's more expensive to live here, whether it's the rent, the groceries, taxes if you own your home.
You cannot live here and work on that salary because you won't eat.
There was a time when I did live in Ithaca. I was maybe a 10-minute drive from where I am now.
I live an hour away. I drive an hour. So for me, it's an expense to pay $100 a week in gas.
Either way, everyone is getting the shaft where they live.
Parking. Yes, you too can spend 1/10 of your paycheck on parking. A lot of people can't do that, and they have to park in the free parking area, which is all the way across campus.
People are tired of having to park a half an hour away from where they work and have to depend on a bus that may or may not be on time.
And we have to be here in a timely manner, so we can't sort of just say like, oh, well, we're a little bit late. Like, that's not an allowance in our situation.
Getting on a bus, making 1 million stops, is not something a person who has a family waiting wants to do.
House is a double, tax is a double, food is a double, institution is double also. Everything double, but our pay is not double.
A cost of living allowance would go a long way in helping people keeping their head above the economic waters.
If you're not getting a COLA increase, then you're getting a pay cut.
But we're chronically short-staffed. We're chronically dealing with at least 1 or 2 positions absent.
And that feeling increased over the years. We were starting to doubt whether we could do our job.
So that's where you get into a situation where you're working 7, 8 days in a row, but you don't get overtime. So they burn out. So then you're more likely to lose more people.
And let's not fool ourselves. This is an institution, learning institution, but it's also a corporation. They're getting their raises. We are not.
They take us for granted.
During COVID, we're the only ones on campus keeping it afloat.
We are not adequately recognized and compensated. That's the bottom line.
We are the heart, the soul, the backbone of Cornell University.
Hopefully that dream, just being able to have a living wage, will become a reality.
We want a fair contract for the work that we're giving you. Plain and simple.
We are, in fact, ready to do what we need to do to earn a decent living.